Matthew Perry was one of the most beloved actors that ever lived. You're about to learn what made Matthew so funny, likable, and attractive on this episode of Classic Charm. So by far, Matthew Perry is the most complicated individual I've ever studied on an episode of Classic Charm. He's incredibly talented, just like born with that talent. But at the same time, there's so many demons that he had to face so many times. Out of all the 9 traits of charm, I believe that Matthew Perry embodies 5 of them the absolute best. This is where we're going to deep dive into Matthew's charm today. The first being authenticity. First of all, out of the gate, you could see how unique Matthew Perry's expression is. He has all of these weird pauses and movements that just make him so perfectly Matthew Perry. And this comes from embracing his own individuality. He is not scared of being who he is. Now, why is it that some people are just so good at being themselves, at embracing who they are? I believe it's actually not trying to be yourself. It's very hard to try to be yourself. Keith Johnstone, who is the godfather of improv, which Matthew Perry studied and is one of the best in the world at, said that being yourself is the easiest thing for you to do.
The obvious is really your true self. The clever is an imitation of somebody else, really.
Anytime that you're trying to put on a personality, you're trying to be more charming, be more charismatic, you are moving away from being yourself. The interesting thing about being authentic, about embracing who you are, the more boring you think you're being, the more interesting you're being to other people, because everyone is such an individual. They have all of these individual experiences and ways that they express themselves that you're boring. The thing that you do all the time is something that nobody else does. So when you do it in public, when you do it unabashedly to strangers, there's a new person right there. The second you try to put on an air of, oh, I'm cool, whatever people do, that's the second you cease to be yourself. You water yourself down, you build up a wall between you and the other person, and you become fucking boring. The more charismatic you try to be, the less interesting you actually become. Matthew knows this. He doesn't try to be Matthew Perry. He just has fun. He just expresses himself without thinking about how he's saying it. It has to do with connecting more with your own intuition rather than going, what looks cool? What seems to be the right thing to do? Matthew never does that. He's always saying what he believes to be true, and he's always cutting the bullshit. This clip right here, one of the first interviews with the Friends cast when they just got big. I want you to notice how Matthew talks about how he just gets free shit. Jennifer Aniston quickly scoffs at that, going God, that's a little too much.
You know, this was free. This suit, free. Didn't spend any money for it.
Because?
Just because. Some nice person gave me the suit because I'm on television.
It's so wrong.
You don't like it? It's wrong to take the suit.
Wrong to take it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful suit.
But for Matt, in his head, he goes, well, that's what happened. Why would I not say what happened? Why would I change what happened? I got a free suit because some nice person gave it to me, and now I'm just wearing a suit for free. That's weird. He spends no time trying to clean things up. He spends no time trying to make them more acceptable in an interview. And I chose this clip because I think it's just the perfect black and white example between somebody like Jennifer Aniston, who is very polished, and Matthew Perry, who just right out of the womb is not a polished man. All right, let's get to playfulness. This is one of the biggest things that contributes to the charm of Matthew Perry, and it's exemplified so perfectly in this interview that happened, 20 years ago, showing his masterful ability to be playful with anybody that he interacts with. I noticed that he does this in so many of his appearances and interviews, and anytime he's interacting with somebody, he turns it into a game.
Get out of it. I like Facebook. There's more stuff. There's more stuff to do on Facebook.
There is, actually is. Keeps you busy.
If I keep saying that, will everybody just keep applauding? That was nice.
What else do you like?
I like Viagra.
We like that you like Viagra. Yes. I always keep a little bit of Viagra in my system.
We love it because
You never know.
You never know.
Never know what's going to
It
happen.
means that you're trying to stay up on things.
Hey.
Now, I just want to break down the process during this little moment right here. First, what does Matty do? He found something that seemed a little fun. He would say something, and then the crowd would cheer.
I like Facebook. There's more stuff.
Oh, I said something, they reacted in a weird way. You notice how he looked? He goes, what? And then like this spark happened in his head. So step 2 is turn it into a game.
If I keep saying that, will everybody just keep applauding? That was nice.
So Matt says, if I keep saying that, will everyone just keep applauding? And one of the interviewers on The View says,
I like Viagra.
he immediately always wants to go to the edgy thing. In all of his interviews, he's always jumping to like sex, some sort of deviance, whatever it could be. Now, I want you to watch closely because what Matt does after he says something edgy is he is scanning the crowd. He wants to see how they react to what he said. Was it positive? Was it negative? This is called a ping, a small test to see how that person responds. If they respond well, if that ping returns positively, then he ups the ante. He makes it even more edgy. If they responded not so positively, dial it back a little bit. In this case, everybody loved the fact that he said Viagra, which he goes, okay, this game is now in motion. Now let's do it again, except for I'm gonna turn up the heat. So at this point, everyone is just absolutely loving this little game that Matt started. And Joy Behar jumps in and she goes,
There's that one drug, if you sustain an erection for more than 8 hours,
You should see your doctor.
you should kill yourself.
Matthew turns to her, looks at her really seriously, and says,
I'd like to just talk to you about this privately.
now, I think to any other celebrity, this would come off super weird, right? Just to be that intimate and forthright with somebody that's interviewing you. But because Matt knows how to slowly turn up the heat in his little game that he's playing, it makes it very comfortable because he was pinging. He was doing these progressive pings that were making people more comfortable about the topic as he went on. So the lesson here, and this is what Matt does all the time, is if you ever feel uncomfortable about saying a certain joke or something like that, always start really light. Look to see how that person responds. If they respond positively, let's go a little higher. Let's turn up the heat a little bit, baby. If they like that, turn it up more. What Matt likes to do, he loves to see how far he can push people with his humor. And this is what all great comedians do. He wants to get them right at the edge of being offended. That is the sweet spot for where true comedians like to hang out. That's that like risky area. That's that place where it's like you are risking people getting upset.
Improvisation is high risk. People think it's like show business. It's much more like sport.
If you stay right on that line, you could have people breaking down in tears laughing so hard. But the second you push too far, if they get offended, you lose them, you bomb. I believe Matt likes living on the edge. He likes taking those risks. He likes testing the waters. He likes seeing how far he can go. That is exciting to him. And I think that's why he is so playful with people, because interactions are exciting. They're fun when they're not just basic small talk. When you can take it to that next level, there's nothing more fun in interactions. Now, almost all my life as a social coach, as a dating coach, I have obsessed over the art of conversation. And that's why I study people like Matthew Perry, because I want to get into his head. I want to see what he's doing, and I want to take the elements of it and apply it to my own personality. That is social skills. Social skills is my life's work, and I actually created a course called Conversation Mastery. Now, this course I'm selling for over $600, but you don't want to buy that $600 course. You know why? Because I made it free for you on Skillshare today. No, I made this course free for you because I believe everybody deserves to know how to flirt with their crush in a way where they know they're going to get on a date. They know they're going to get that number. They know they're going to build attraction and strong chemistry. And I don't want you to have to spend your whole life trying to figure this out. I want you to just soak in all of the skills that I teach. How do you express yourself? How do you get somebody to go on a date with you? What do you say as soon as you go up to a stranger? How do you move into a place that's a little more intimate, a little more sexual? How do you make it so you never ever run out of interesting things to talk about. All of this is in the conversation course. Now, we're about to get back to the Matthew Perry analysis in a second, but I just want to tell you how to get this course for free, because a couple steps. First, you click the link or you scan the QR code. Then you go into SKILLSHARE. You have to create an account with SKILLSHARE if you don't already. Put in your credit card information, but don't worry, because you are not going to be spending anything for SKILLSHARE or this course. Right after you sign up for the trial, you put your credit card information in, you cancel the membership. You never have to pay for SKILLSHARE, you never have to pay for my course, and you get my course for an entire month for free. This thing costs over $600. Now, if you want to watch the rest of this video, you don't want to have to go get the course right now, don't worry. I'll remind you at the end of the video. Let's get back to Maddie. All right, now this trait in charm, I find is where Maddie is one of the strongest ever, and it is about being rebellious. He is a rebellious motherfucker. In other words, he says things that are inappropriate to say on TV, with people, not on TV, with strangers, with close friends that he knows. He says fucked up shit. But the cool thing about it is he says it in such a way that it comes off acceptable. It comes off interesting. It comes off funny. And we're gonna go into why that is right now. Being rebellious is a very important part of charm. And if you don't have it, you are not a charming person. This interview with Lisa Kudrow, he's doing little like jabs at her. If you didn't know who Matthew Perry was, you might see this as insulting, but it's because Matthew Perry is Matthew Perry. He knows how to do it in such a way where he's not insulting anybody. In fact, what he does is he's always injecting love for that person when he's being rebellious.
She's hilarious, and if memory serves, she owes me $47.
Oops.
You remember that?
Oops.
From the 2 steak sandwiches?
Yep.
You want to...
I don't have it on me.
We'll talk about it later. She's the executive producer of Web Therapy, and who do you think you are? Please welcome one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. You may remember her as being the second funniest cast member on Friends. Emmy winner, Lisa Kudrow. Lisa, thank you for being here.
Thank you for giving me second.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was tough, because first is so easy. And then you have to watch the episodes to know.
To figure out.
Yeah. But congratulations.
Thank you.
You're next to the best.
Yeah.
And I think this is interesting. I don't know. I find you to be, quite honestly, one of the most intelligent actors I've ever worked with.
Thanks, really?
And yes, I do.
Wow.
And I notice, though, that you always play characters, you kind of gravitate toward characters that aren't so intelligent sometimes. Now, are you trying to play against yourself, or do you need me to explain this question to you over again?
Now, Matt's talent for humor and being a great comedian knows how to naturally balance between being rebellious and courteous and loving and amiable to the person that he's interacting with. Now, remember, with charm, the reason the person is charming is because they balance all of these traits. What we're talking about right now is rebelliousness and courteousness. When you mix those together, you get charm. If you just have rebelliousness, you come off like an asshole. You come off like somebody that doesn't want to be around anyone. If you're just courteous, if you're just amiable, you come off boring, too nice. There's no edge inside of you. And so this balance is so important. You can't be either or, you need to be both. Now, a good counterpoint to Matthew gracefully executing this rebelliousness, going back to that first Friends interview with Larry King, he made a joke about Jennifer Aniston, and Jennifer Aniston didn't take it well. She was feeling uncomfortable. In other words, his joke didn't land. He didn't know how to balance it out back then. I want you to watch right here.
Go with her on a date. I mean, you can go.
You mean double date?
Yeah, double date. Travel
It gets
together.
awkward because she eyes me, you know, in ways that really make me uncomfortable, considering she has a boyfriend and everything. But other than that,
But you've handled it well.
Yeah.
I think on this show, though, you may lose it.
yeah,
This could be finish.
I may have just ruined it right there.
Now, studying this rebelliousness about Matthew Perry made me realize that there's a lot of times he does go overboard. He does bomb, where people don't love what he says, and he just moves on, I noticed.
Everybody's so nice and so great, and the women are hot.
Yeah, exactly. Always good for the workplace.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. So, Matthew.
That's really interesting about him. He'll say something fucked up, he'll see nobody liked it, and he'll just continue. He doesn't think about it. He's not going, oh shit, I bombed, I suck, let me stop being funny. He just keeps rolling with the punches.
Andy? So,
So I was working late.
I believe that you really can't be rebellious if you care about the person's reaction. So I think it's a great lesson here. Even when you bomb, just keep going. Don't worry. People forget. People aren't thinking about it. If you make it a thing, they'll make it a thing. We are at the final trait Matthew Perry best conveys in his personality. And this one, guys, he's the king. Quick wit. This guy is faster than anybody I've ever known. And I think the best lesson for you to take from Matt is this interview with Ellen, where she plays this word game with him, where most people are trying to be interesting in their answers. I want you to notice how Matt is such a good player of improv that he knows how to just say the first thing that comes to his mind.
A penguin?
I was going to say that. Hawk.
Big hawk.
Eagle.
A little smaller eagle.
And that is what makes him so quick. An improv master knows never to be thinking. You always want to go with what your brain sees as soon as you hear something. Somebody goes, give me a bird. The first bird that you see in your head is the bird that you say. You don't try to make it more interesting. And what did we talk about earlier with authenticity and being yourself? You are most yourself when you think you're being boring, when you think you're being obvious. You've lived with yourself all your life. Of course, you're going to think that you're boring or you're normal. All of the little eccentricities of your expressiveness come out when you just connect with your own intuition about who you are. Matt is no stranger to this. He is an improv master, so he always just goes with the first thing that he sees. He's never thinking.
Kumquat.
Don't call me that.
Now, the cool thing about improv is you make gold from just very basic, ordinary things. The most basic rule in improv is yes and. If you master that, you master improv. Now, she said kumquat, watched everyone laugh, and he goes, that sounds like an insult. And he goes,
don't call me that.
Masterful improv. There's no thought involved. There's no trying to be interesting. Now, a really good example of Matt just kind of saying the first thing that comes to his mind is right here, because it doesn't even make sense what he said, but it was the first thing that popped in his mind.
You were a drunk, I was a heavy drinker.
Yes.
I think there's a very big difference. You were a real drunk.
I was a guy who, I'm surprised I didn't try to drink you.
That makes no sense. But in his head, it does. And that's why it's interesting, because we are getting the realness from Matthew Perry. Now, these type of games that you've seen him play are the same exact type of games that you would play if you were in an improv 101 class. So if you really want to have that level of quick wit that Matthew Perry does, or anything near that, because nobody's gonna match him, I'm telling you guys, take an improv class. I've said it in so many of my videos, but taking an improv class will change you. It will literally just make you quick-witted and funny and more playful. It's very clear to say Matthew Perry doesn't only suffer from addiction troubles. And by the way, if anybody has any bias towards people with addiction, if you ever think that people with addiction are weak or anything like that, I just really want you to quickly see this quick clip from Matthew about how he became an addict.
Why, but I was a colicky kid and I used to cry all the time, and I was constantly crying. And my parents took me to a doctor, and he was an older doctor, and he wore a white coat, and he said, if your baby's crying, just give him this. And they said, okay. And it was phenobarbital, which is a major barbiturate and a very addictive thing. And I was 30 days old. And they gave it to me for 30 days. So from 30 to 60, and there's pictures of me looking like knocked out. Like my face was all squinched. I was like, and they would laugh because, you know, stone babies are fun, I guess. But I know that it affected my sleep forever. I don't really sleep that well, and I'm pretty sure it's because of that. But if I was a parent and it was 1970 and I was given this by a doctor and the baby stopped crying, I would do it too. But, you know, now it's like, well, you fucking crazy?
Fucking horrible. It just upsets me so much to know that somebody so vulnerable and innocent was drugged as a child, and very, very, very likely is what directly influenced his addiction growing up. Now, the next thing that it's very clear that Matthew Perry has is attachment anxiety when it comes to relationships. On a basic level, when somebody has an intense fear of being abandoned in a relationship, that fear is so intense that they will do do things that are irrational. Something that Matthew has done in so many of his relationships. Granted, he has dated some of the most famous, some of the most beautiful women in the world. One being Julia Roberts.
Now, what's the deal? Are you dating this Matthew Perry guy?
I am dating this Matthew Perry guy.
Listen, in the 90s, Julia Roberts was the it girl. She was the person that everyone wanted to date. And Matthew Perry broke up with her. And do you know why Matthew Perry broke up with her? Because he was so incredibly scared that she would break up with him. And that fear, that obsession to that fear, caused him to pull the plug before it got ugly. He got rejected. Before she said, I don't want you anymore because this. Now that was all in his head, but that obsession to that fear was what caused him to break up with Julia Roberts, and almost all of his relationships, he did the exact same thing. It's so upsetting to me. It just like makes me want to cry to know he couldn't have the family he wanted to have.
Are you going to get married at some point or not?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
And, have children and the whole thing, or do you figure I'll skip that whole section?
No. I think I will.
So many clients that I've had that think that they are the one person in the world where it's just not going to apply to them. They are just not going to end up happy. I have personally successfully helped so many people with abandonment issues get into very, very fulfilling relationships, happy relationships where they don't have that fear. People come to me after going to therapy and they go, why did I not learn this in therapy? If you are feeling these types of feelings, please seek help. Either go to a psychologist, find a coach that is specializing in something like this. If you seek help, you will grow. And so the thing that I stress to you is please always have hope. The one thing that is definitely true, Matthew Perry knows he's affected so many people positively. He's put so many smiles on so many people's faces because he loves making people laugh. He loves seeing the smile in others. If you have any suggestions for future Classic Charm episodes, put it in the comments. And you can now access my free Conversation Mastery course, link in the description or the QR code. Sign up for a free 1-month trial to Skillshare. You cancel the trial, then you get my course for a month for free. Now, if you do like Skillshare, and this is not a Skillshare sponsorship, don't cancel the trial. Keep going, keep learning. QR code, baby. Link in the description, baby. I'll see you next time.